You're listening to
Don't Take This Personally,
a
podcast about the business of creativity.
We are your hosts, wedding photographers, entrepreneurs, and friends, Cami Oliveria
And Gabe Conover. Now let's get into it.
Let's get into it. And don't take it personally, whatever we're about to say.
Yes.
Don't. Do not take this personally.
Hello, everyone.
Here we are.
Here we are again.
We were just talking about that we're a little out of practice, but we're here with another interview.
Yes.
We can't wait to tell you about her.
Very exciting interview.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Great.
Yeah. You know, I don't know. Holidays were pretty relaxing.
For me too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's good.
Yeah. My first not married holiday, so I wasn't running around.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I wasn't like going to all the different families and stuff for the first time, so it was pretty relaxing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Up in Washington.
Good old Washington. I just relaxed for a few weeks, got COVID, you know. Anyways, like everyone.
And you're here and you're good now.
And I'm here and I'm better.
You're good. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Let's just dive in.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Enough small talk.
Well, we're gonna gloat about ourselves once again, really quick. Review of the week.
Here we
week.
Go. 5 stars from Jack Happy Feet, which is the cutest little name. Little screen name. Okay, so again, the title gets cut off.
Okay.
But it feels like I'm in a room with my ...
Parents?
What do you think they meant? With my dog?
My dog?
With my kitty cat? I feel like I'm in a room with my
best friends.
That's what I'm hoping.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. But it's a mystery. We'll never know.
No.
Okay. Listening to Cami and Gabe's podcast feels like I'm chilling in a room listening to my besties talk.
I think we were right.
That's me. Just a couple of besties. They are fun, relaxed, no nonsense, but also full of encouragement. Oh,
besties.
Yeah. Each podcast I leave with something new to help me grow my business, but also just a huge smile on my face.
When I listen to our podcast too in the car, I'm always like,
just smiling and nodding. So yeah, I do that too. If you're looking for an entertaining, uplifting, but also straight to the point photography education podcast, this one is for you! ! Heart.
Oh, a heart too.
Yeah, that was a really good one. Thanks, Jack Happy Feet.
Thank you, Jack Happy Feet.
Thank you.
So nice.
We're glad to be back.
Yes, we are.
Little holiday break.
Yes, and we are so excited to introduce today's guest, the lovely Cara Mia. Oh, that's so fun to say.
It's really fun to say. Cara Mia. Our Cara Mia, she's a little mysterious. We're excited for her to tell you all more about herself.
We're excited to learn more about her.
Yeah, that's what this is about.
True.
Yeah.
We just wanted to get to know Cara Mia.
Yeah. Cara Mia, hi.
Hello, how are you guys?
Oh, we're
good.
So good. So happy to have you.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you.
So I'm curious about your name, Cara Mia. Is Mia your middle name?
Yes. No, it's not. My name is Cara. My last name is Bean. So my name is Caribbean, like Pirates of the Caribbean.
Nice.
That's what my parents named me on purpose.
That is the craziest thing I've ever Caribbean.
Yeah.
So cute, Caribbean. I love it.
They're so funny.
They're so funny.
So tell us why they named you Caribbean again?
After an Enya song, Caribbean Blue. Yes, which I fully expect to be playing this whole episode.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Can you hear
so
it now?
Cute.
Is that legal? Can we do that?
I don't know. We'll ask our assistant.
If Gabe sings it, I think it's okay.
Right.
Yeah,
well, I don't know if I know it, so I'm like, I
That
only know
makes it
one
better.
Enya song. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll just guess in the background.
That's so cute.
If I'm not. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Here we go. That's an
Enya,
amazing
Caribbean.
name. I love it. I love your name.
Yeah.
I really do. I was really excited to have you tell that story because it's very pretty. If you would just say like, oh, my name's Caribbean, I wouldn't notice that it's Caribbean. Like my brain didn't like log that until you said it. And then I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my
that
gosh.
Was all growing up, that's what people called me, was Caribbean, but I go by Cara Mia for my business. That's what my Italian side of the family calls me. So I just thought it was
So
better,
cute.
shorter. So yeah.
Oh
It
my
is
gosh.
really
Is that
cute.
common with when someone's name is Cara for it to be Cara Mia in Italy or something like that? Is that like a
Maybe, yeah. And also like the Spanish translation is my face. So I don't know what that means. Like Google Translate was trying to change my Instagram to my face the other day. Like what
My
is happening?
face.
Yeah,
Cara
my
Mia
face.
means my face?
Yeah, because cara in Spanish is face. But that's not why I go by that, for the record. But
Interesting.
yeah, the more you know.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Wow. That is really interesting.
Okay, so where do you live?
I live in Utah. So we're like 45 minutes south of Salt Lake City.
Amazing.
Cool.
And did you grow up there?
I did not. No, I was born here, but my dad was in the military. So we kind of grew up, I kind of grew up all over the United States, most recently Illinois and then Virginia before that.
Okay.
Cool.
And what brought you back to Utah then?
Went out here I have some family out here and then school. And then I met my husband in Petra, Jordan on a study abroad. We got lost together in the desert for 7 hours without water. And we had to get rescued by soldiers on an ATV, which he calls our first date.
What?
And then, so we met out there and then we ended up getting married and now we live here. So yeah, kind of crazy. It sounds made up.
Okay, backtrack.
Wow.
Petra. At first you said Petra, Jordan. And I was like, oh, I've never heard of that city in Utah. And then I was like, wait a second. No, like you mean like Petra. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, like
so
Indiana Jones, like that whole area.
were you both just being like tourists and then like met, or were you like part of like a group or like what?
It was part of a group, but I had never talked to him before, hadn't seen him. And then we kind of got split up into a smaller group and then it ended up being just the two of us kind of hiking. We took the scenic route and then got lost. So, which is actually very true to what, yeah. So kind of crazy. Yeah. But it was a good way to meet somebody. Just get lost with them in the desert. Yeah.
I will say that is the cutest meeting story I have ever heard. That's like the coolest meet
it
cute.
is.
That's like a movie
so
meet cute.
Yeah, so movie. Wow. Okay, the Cara Mia movie.
Whoa.
Cara Mia movie almost dies in the desert. Like
yeah,
so
almost like people would love to come.
That's
see
some
that.
like main character energy.
Yeah,
stuff.
main character energy. There it is. That's rad. Okay, so how long ago was that?
That was like 7 years ago now. So yeah.
Wow.
Okay, and then you moved back. Was he from here or Utah?
He was from Sammamish, near Seattle. So that's
Sammamish.
Yeah, kind of random little.
I grew up in Redmond.
Oh, you
which
did?
is just up the road from Sammamish.
Okay, you know it then.
I know Sammamish. Whoa! When those words came out of your mouth, I was like, Sammamish. It's not a city I've heard anyone say since I left.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
apparently.
Except for the Ted Bundy documentary. I talked to him.
Yes, it is there. He was also in Utah, so we're just kind of following him. Yeah,
that's perfect.
Yeah,
that's how I like to live my
not
life.
really. What's
Cara Mia following Ted Bundy?
That's
right.
a sound bite.
That should probably be what you call the podcast, honestly. So, oh man,
yes. Oh my gosh. Okay,
Oh my
so are you
gosh.
happy to be in Utah? Do you like it there?
I love it. I think my favorite thing about it is just the variety of landscapes here.
Yes.
It's insane. I don't know if have you guys been?
I was in
haven't.
St. George a few weeks ago, but I mean, I've been all over Utah too.
Yeah, so you've seen it. I love that you can just pick a direction, drive an hour, and you'll be in a totally different landscape. So as a photographer, it's awesome. Yeah, so I love that.
Hell yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I can imagine.
So what did you study?
I was an English major, actually.
Cool.
Yeah, I thought I was going to go to law school. That's what my parents both did. They're lawyers. And realized very quickly that I would feel so suffocated doing that. Like it just wasn't for me. So I actually, out of college, I got into more of marketing and copywriting specifically. So I'm a senior copywriter. I did that for 6 years before. Actually, I did both photography and copywriting up until this last year. That was the first time I went full time.
Really?
I was working 2 full-time jobs. Not very many people know that. It was insane.
Oh, that's terrible.
It was a lot. Yeah, it was like 80-hour work weeks. It was really crazy.
Well, what kind of copywriting were you doing?
Mostly for affiliate marketing. So I did a lot of writing for AT&T specifically. So not that exciting, but
cool.
But I like writing. So it was a good avenue into it. And I feel like it taught me a lot about marketing, which I was then able to bring into my business. So I feel like I'm grateful for it. I feel like it gave me a huge leg up in that department. So
oh my gosh, totally. I have felt the same way. Like I studied journalism.
Yeah.
And so like that, the amount of ways that has translated into like how I can effectively market myself and communicate with people and just write and all that. So I totally get that. That's rad. And like, when did photography start for you?
Photography. So this is the craziest part. So I told you I met my husband in Jordan. He had a camera. I did not. And that was the first time I was ever really interested in it. I thought it was really cool to see what kind of photos he was taking. He's kind of artsy. So he bought me my first camera, I think a year into being married.
I love that.
Yeah. So that's how I got into it. I never owned a camera before that. Didn't know I liked photography. Didn't imagine I'd ever be doing this. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. And what did you start shooting? Like when you got that first camera?
Travel mostly. We were going to South Africa. So I'm like, okay, we should have a better camera just to like take photos of everything. And that's how I got started in it, because we just like to travel together. That's like our thing. So
whoa. Wow. That wasn't even that long ago.
No, it's like 4 years ago. Like,
whoa.
Crazy. Yeah.
Whoa, that'll make you feel inferior.
No.
That's amazing. Whoa. Wow. That's amazing.
So when did you start to, I guess, see it as a potential career?
Yeah, like when do you start to shoot people and like
I feel like I kind of got thrown into it because we got back from Africa and I had some friends that were asking me like, oh, we liked your photos. Would you take some anniversary photos of us? You know, and I'm like, yeah, like I'll charge you $50, which I thought was a big deal.
Totally.
Really exciting. Shot the whole thing on auto. Yeah, you've been there.
Yeah.
You know.
Auto.
And it's so good. And I was really pleasantly surprised by how the photos turned out and how I liked shooting and interacting with people, that whole process. And then I'm trying to remember how this happened. I think I was trying to buy a rug for my house, happened to meet a lady who was a stylist who had a weekend wedding that was coming up. And she said, you're a photographer. I never get photos of my details. I would love it if you came and just shadowed me and like took some photos for me off on the side if I get permission from the bride or whatever. And so I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And so I showed up and the photographer didn't come to the wedding. It was one of like the groom's guy friends. Straight up didn't show up. And so I had to shoot the whole wedding. So I literally feel like I was like thrown into the wedding industry. Like I just had to shoot this whole wedding, zero experience. Turned out fine. They were very, very like chill mountain, like I can't even speak, laid back type of couple. So but anyway, that's how it started. So that was my first wedding.
And did you like the experience outside of the stress being like, whoa, I didn't know I was doing this today, but did you like the experience of it right away?
Yeah, I really liked it. And honestly, like, I think because I hadn't been in the industry, I didn't necessarily realize the gravity of it. So I wasn't feeling stressed. I was just happy to be there. I'm like, here we go. Like I'm shooting this, you know, and I feel like they didn't care so much either because it was originally just one of their friends. It was more just like, if we get photos, cool. So that was a really good, like no pressure experience.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Cool.
That was in Utah?
Crazy.
That was in Utah. Yeah. Okay. So that was like 4 years ago or 3.5 or something. So.
Wow.
And so then after that experience where you're like, hey, I should do this. Is that, did you just start it right away?
Yeah, basically. I feel like I'm the type of person that I get really obsessive about things. And I always want to be learning something new. And so when I figured out like, oh, wow, this is something that I could do and I could be a little bit good at it. Let's try it. You know, let's just dive in. And I'm kind of an all or nothing type of person. So I just immediately dived in, or is it dove? I immediately dove in. I hate that.
We don't know. Yeah.
Cool.
Whatever.
Anyway, whatever happened.
You're the English major, so I trust
know, I'm
you.
like, I really should know this. This is embarrassing. You can cut that part out.
Whatever you say, I'll think is correct.
Yeah, that's accurate. That's accurate.
Anyway, just went right into it. And I basically did, I think 1 to 2 styled shoots a week just to try to teach myself photography.
Of course.
And then eventually just kind of kept getting a little bit better. And then I think I booked like my first real client later in that year, so that was kind of where it started. It's kind of a fake it till you make it type situation.
Totally.
Oh, of course. Oh, that's awesome. So this was 4 years ago.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
2017.
So for how long did you focus on pretty much doing weddings?
Wait, so ask that again. How long did I focus on
How long? Because I mean, you said that you've been working 2 jobs, right?
Yes.
Okay. So how, and then when did you stop working 2 jobs?
Oh, yeah. So couple of thoughts on this. The first thought is, and something I'd like to say too, to a lot of people that I think are in a similar situation, people that really wish they could go full time, but let's be real, like we have to be able to pay our mortgages and eat. And a lot of people went to school for other things and they have other jobs. I actually don't regret the way that I started out. I feel like it was really awesome because I didn't have to say yes to every single opportunity that came my way if I didn't want to, because I already had money coming in from my other job.
Totally.
And that doesn't mean that I wasn't excited to try literally everything, because I think that's also important. Like, don't niche yourself down immediately. Like, try it all, see how it goes. But I thought it was awesome because they were so flexible with me. I got almost unlimited paid time off. So that was great. And I could write, you can write from anywhere. As long as I have my computer, I could catch up on writing after a wedding and then shoot the full thing and do everything. So they kind of just let me travel and go. So it was really hard to give that up for a while. But then it started getting to the point where it was like, I literally can't do both anymore. Like, it's not sustainable. I'm burning myself out. So I actually went full time last year, and I want to say it was like April or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you quit your other job.
Quit my other job. Haven't looked back since, and I think it was the best decision I've ever made. So no regrets yet.
Yeah.
I love that you said, because I have a different story from you where like I literally like quit my job on a whim, not having anything booked because I was just like, I don't want to do both. But I feel like it's so good to make sure that, like, you know, obviously there's no one right way to do anything. So I'd love to know more about, like, when you look back on when you were working like 80-hour work weeks, right? Were you always working that much, or did you kind of like fall into that and then like take a step back and be like, oh, I should probably take a little bit less photo work or whatever? What was it like for you during the years that you did work both jobs?
That's a great question. I'm not going to say it was 80 hours every week, but when you think about it, your business is your baby. And so it almost doesn't feel like work. And I felt like just this drive of, oh, I really want this to happen. I'm manifesting this. I'm putting in the work. I want this I want to become better. I want to book more things. And so I was probably taking on at least one booking a week for a very long time, which I feel like maybe a lot of people do that. For me now, I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I do that? Like, that just sounds like a lot.
Right.
So I think it was more just, investing a lot of that time into marketing. And when I wasn't working, trying to like do some stuff on the side to just slowly build it up, slowly network. And I feel like networking is such a powerful tool, especially if you're starting out. You have like heroes in the photography community, go and meet them. I feel like that was the best thing that I did. I think 2 years in owning a camera, we took India Earl to Peru with us for our anniversary. She was like my favorite photographer, and just wanted to meet her and get that relationship and just see how she shot, like see how she worked. Totally. And I think that was one of the best things I could have done at that time. Just meeting people that I was inspired by and seeing what they did.
And I did that in the beginning too. When I was starting out, I would like hire photographers I wanted to meet, like for sessions. And like, that's how I did it.
I think it's a great strategy.
No, it is. It's a great strategy. I totally agree. And it's funny. I think the first time that I ever found out about you was through India's photos of you in Peru.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's awesome and she's still so talented.
Totally.
But
she
it
is
was
so
a
awesome.
cool opportunity to just go that way and then see if I would want to do it myself. And so
that is so funny. We almost did the same thing because India Earl shot my wife and I in Scotland. And
I love
for
that.
us, it was like an opportunity where like we were going to Ireland and they were doing a workshop and they needed models. And I was like, oh, like, let's do it. Like, we're going to meet so many cool people. And it kind of did inspire my love for it for a time too, which is awesome. So good for you.
Cool.
Okay. So now as I look at your work, especially over the last year, it does seem like you are transitioning a bit, maybe out of weddings and into a different industry, like more fashion editorial. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So that's another thing that kind of happened almost as a result of COVID, I think, to be honest, because like so many other photographers, 2020 shit show, every single wedding I had, I think of all of them that I had booked, only 3 of them ended up actually happening. So crazy. I went from having a totally booked out year to nothing. Like literally I was like, okay, like what do I even do? And so then it was kind of like, all right, I have downtime. Let's do some shoots. Like, let's see how it goes. And so I started experimenting more with creative editorial type things and discovered that I really loved it. Prior to that, I was terrified of it. Like portraits, for example, solo portraits. If you had asked me 2 years ago to take them of you, I would have just said no because I was so intimidated by them. I don't know what people do with their hands in a photo. I'm like, what do I do? I just like stand there, So like I just never would have thought that I would have enjoyed that. And now I feel like the majority of my very favorite work is just solo or group shoots, but more editorial type things that I never thought that I could get to that point where I'd enjoy them. So I feel like it's been I feel like I'm still kind of discovering myself, to be honest. And it's a little, I don't want to say scary, but I feel unsure of what I want to do. I don't hate weddings. I don't hate like what I do. I love meeting people and sharing experiences together and storytelling. Those are things that I don't want to give up, but I also feel this pull to constantly express myself creatively in ways that sometimes I feel like weddings can be a little limiting, but I try to not approach it that way. Cause I'm like, is there a way to make weddings not limiting and like make it art? Anyway, talking a lot, but I'm trying to figure that out right now is where I want to go. And I booked my first brand clients. Well, not my first, I had a few last year, but I have more this year and I'm really excited about that. So shooting lookbooks for them and things like that.
Cool. How do you get into that?
I literally think it's a fake it till you make it thing. I think that's what it is. I like Cult Gaia is a brand that I really love. I bought 2 of their dresses, which for the record are not cheap. Like it was like a $1,500 investment, but I loved it. Went and did a shoot there at one of my favorite places, posted it. And then a lot of brands saw that, thought that I had been booked by Cult Gaia, and then reached out to me because of that work. They said, we love what you did for this brand. We want this. Can you do this for us? And so that's, that's how it starts.
That's how you do it. And I feel like people like aren't willing to do that anymore.
Yeah. And the content series I do, I'm not trying to like do shameless plug either, but that was also a good opportunity because I feel like workshops are awesome, but sometimes they're limiting in the sense that it's usually couples and wedding content. And I was feeling like, gosh, what happens to the people that might want to transition or experiment with other things? I want something for that. So I created the event that I wished I could attend.
Totally.
Yeah, which was mostly editorial content. It was 16 shoots of just that. And then working with stylists has been awesome.
Wait, so tell me about that because I don't know about those content days. So like share about that as someone who like doesn't know what it is.
Yeah. It's 16 shoots in 2 days.
What?
So there's 4 locations. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. It's exhausting. It's cool. You learn a lot. You try stuff. My theory is after like maybe 1 to 3 hours of shooting, you have to like learn to think outside of the box because at a certain point you're going to be like, okay, well, I already tried that and I'm bored of it. Now I want to do something else. So I feel like it's a great place to put yourself in to just experiment and play. I feel like sometimes with social media, we just take ourselves seriously all the time. And we feel like every shoot I do has to be the next best thing. And I have to make this perfect hero shot and get the likes and all this stuff. And what happened to just playing? Like, how do you know that you want to do weddings your whole life if you've never even tried anything else? You know what I mean? Like, why not just try it? Worst case scenario, you hate it and it reaffirms that you love what you're doing. But I've had so many people that have come to these that are like, I thought I would look forward to the wedding shoots the most. Those were my least favorite. I actually think I want to explore other things. And I'm like, great. You know, like, how do you know if you don't try? So
totally.
That's so cool. And like how many people come to them? Like, is it capped? Like
it depends on the event and we'll like adjust the time. We had like around 45 to 50 come per event last year. So it was a bigger event. We did COVID test everyone just to let you guys know. I paid the extra to have COVID testing done there. So so it was good. And then we broke them all up into smaller groups though. So groups weren't larger than like 10 people.
Like on a single shoot at a time.
Yes. And then we like moderated at the time because I don't personally love when there's 20 people trying to fight for the shot. So we would
I don't do great in that environment.
Well, nobody can be creative in that environment. You know what I mean? Because you're like so much pressure to just so we kind of like split it so that everybody could pair up in smaller groups or by themselves and get individual time to like do their thing.
Cool. Amazing.
Well, that's great.
Tell us about working with stylists because I've seen as you have promoted these styled content series and stuff, like you have a lot of stylists coming on and different people. Where did you start? How did you start investing in those networking opportunities and finding those people?
Yeah, I think I told you like the first wedding I did, that was because of a stylist. And then I feel like you just kind of slowly meet people and you build this network and this team of people that are exciting. What I love about stylists is that I feel like it's just this awesome symbiotic relationship. Like both people have similar goals, but you need each other to like get to that point. So I'm not a stylist. I've styled a few things, but I'm not like the people I work with are just geniuses at what they do. So it's really cool to combine forces and see what we come up with together, bringing in those different perspectives. And I actually think that is another piece of advice I have if you want to talk strategy into building a brand. Befriend people that aren't just photographers. I love photographers, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, like you can't both shoot the same wedding usually or ever unless they're second shooting for you. And I feel like it's cool to have people that bring new things to the table, new perspectives that will just help you grow. And you'll help them. So it's just mutually beneficial.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I think that just like you said, like there's so much that we do that we cannot do without other people who are experts in different things. And like, you know, I may be an expert when it comes to photography or like even specifically being a wedding photographer, but I am not an expert when it comes to planning a wedding. So when, you know, like you said, my most valuable relationships are with wedding planners and stylists because they need us and we need them, and we don't know what we're doing without each other.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people would go into, especially I see a big trend with photographers, like going into shoots like you do, trying to do everything, you know, and like we as photographers are like, oh, I'm going to set up the styled shoot and I'm going to get all this stuff. And it's, you know, the level of content that you are putting out there compared to these people is so much higher because you're using the people around you that are so talented at what they do. And you see that it's a team thing, you know, it's not just, I'm only one person. I'm one good photographer, but that doesn't mean that I have the capacity just mentally to throw an entire 2-day content series without help, you know?
Oh, I could not have. And I feel like another good thing that I've picked up over the years is just the more you learn, I like wearing different hats. Like the more you learn about what other people do, the better you will be at what you do. So when I was a copywriter, the more I knew about graphic design, the more I knew about content strategy, SEO, all of those things, I feel like it informed how I wrote. It changed how I wrote because I know, oh, well, I can foresee that that's going to be an issue for the designer. So I'm going to change how I'm writing this. And I feel like totally applies to photography.
Amazing.
You start thinking about the florist, you start thinking about the makeup artist, the hair artist, the planners, the stylists, the couple, obviously, you know, everybody that's involved in this process. And you start thinking, how can I use these skills to think like them? What would they do in this situation? And just like, I feel like it's elevated my work a lot, just trying to think about that.
And like, it's like foreseeing problems before they come up. Just like solving the problems before they happen is just like also just a way to take your professionalism to the next level.
And it makes those other people just more obsessed with you. So then, you know, they're going to scream your praises to everyone because they're like, oh yeah, Cara's a great photographer. Yeah. But like, she pays attention to what I need. She knows what I need. And that goes such a long way.
I also like that you said scream your praises instead of sing your praises. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to scream the praises. Yeah. Like, yes. Like, I love that. That's way more intense.
No,
but so good.
I love it because the root of it is building real, genuine relationships. And I feel like that will get you farther than anything. You know, if you're actually caring about your couples, they're going to notice. If you're actually building these relationships with these people, I've heard so many florists and talented stylists that have told me, I had this vision and I loved it. I didn't get a single photo back, or it wasn't how I envisioned it. I wish they would have done this. And I feel like, how hard is it for us as photographers to even ask a stylist before a shoot or the planner or whatever and say, is there a shot that you wish that we always got, like that somebody would get for you that they never do? Or is there something I can do that you wish that, you know, and I'm not saying that I've been perfect at it. I've definitely like dropped the ball before, but I try to be mindful of it. I feel like that makes a difference.
Yeah. This is something we talk about a lot, that like going above and beyond, which I don't even think it should be above and beyond, but it
should be the bare minimum.
It should be bare minimum.
Bare minimum.
But to just like think about these other people you're working with and just like anticipate their needs, or just fucking ask questions. And like what that does for your business to just serve people better is huge.
Totally.
Yes.
Yeah. So cool. So are you trying to like get out of weddings?
The golden question of 2022.
I know, right?
I feel like I went into this year, the main thing that I know is that I want more intention. Last year, I did 5 events and it was insane. And this year I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to scale back a little bit, take on a little bit less. I think I still am down to do intimate weddings and elopements, especially travel type stuff. I've always been interested in that. I just think it's fun and it creates a whole new experience and vibe when you're with people and exploring a place together for the first time. So I'm not ready to give that up yet, but I don't know what I keep calling it next year. I don't know what this year looks like yet. I feel like I've been saying no to a lot of things too, which I feel grateful that I can say no to things because I know a lot of people are really hurting post-COVID and I'm not trying to be insensitive about that.
No.
I think it's more just like realizing that I don't want to be burned out. And I do think at the end of last year, I was feeling very burned out. I was feeling like I had nothing left to give. So
yeah,
trying to
all
recharge
of us
a little
too, for sure. I mean, us too, for sure.
Yeah,
we were not in great places at the end of last year.
So are you in a place right now where you're kind of like allowing yourself to like step back and just like reflect on what maybe is coming? Is that how you would describe it? But you're not making any firm decisions yet.
That's partially. I'm taking on some bookings, but all of January, I'm not doing a single shoot. And I think all of February, I don't want to do a single shoot. I'm working on a couple other projects that need time for me to just sit in front of a computer. Right. And then I have to edit all 78 styled shoots I did last year. So like, don't ask me when that's going to happen, but like someday, maybe. So I'm kind of just spending time at home, which is not my personality. I'm Enneagram 7. I love traveling. I love saying yes to things. I love just go all the time. And I feel like for the first time in my life, I'm a 7 too. You're 7 too. Okay, girl. And so that's why I'm so impressed hearing that you have the self-control to say no to things, because I do not. This is new. This is very
new. I'm really impressed with you because I find myself burnt out every single year, and every single year I say it's going to be different, and it never is. So how do you learn to say no?
I mean, let's see how the end of this year goes and talk again and see if I actually did that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is just, I'm recognizing, okay, here's the thing. I think I used to equate success with how booked I was, how many places I was going. And I feel like now success is, can I afford to be home this week? Can I spend time with my family? Can I go to that event from a friend? You know, and not that it doesn't mean I'm not traveling or meeting great people and shooting weddings. I think it's just that my perspective has shifted, because every time I say yes to something, I'm also saying no to other things. And so I think I'm at that point where if I have a gut feeling like this is just not right for whatever reason, I've always regretted when I haven't listened to that feeling in the past, because then something else comes up that I wish I could have done, or it ended up not, like maybe I just didn't vibe with that couple, or something happened where I'm like, man, I should have just listened to my gut and said no, because opportunities come up, but if you're too booked to see them, you'll miss it, you know?
Like the phrase, if it's not a hell yes, then it's a no.
Yeah, I think I'm just trying to be a little bit more like that, but we'll see how successful I am with it. Yeah.
I feel like the journey of my adult life has been like stripping, equaling success with busyness.
Yes.
You know, it's the fucking 7 struggle. Is like
seriously,
keeping ourselves so busy.
You know, another thing too, I'm curious to see what your perspectives are on this, but I was talking with a few creatives the other day about what happens when you turn your passion into a career. What happens when you turn what you love into a job? What does that mean? And what do you have to sacrifice? Because I feel like you're always going to feel in a way like you're giving up something just because it is something that you love, and you have clients, you know, you have to also make sure it's what they love. Yeah. So I've been trying to find the answer to that question and navigate, what do you do? What, like, this is my passion. I wouldn't do anything else but what I'm doing, but I don't want to hate it because I burn myself out on it. You know, like I don't know what you guys think.
That's really interesting.
I have one thing to say is I do this. So I've been full-time. This is going to be my 5th year. And then what I would always catch myself like feeling is like, oh, like I worked like 50 hours a week instead of like 40, which I try to keep myself pretty low on the hours, and like 40 is like normal.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I have a family and I have things that I want to maintain that are really important to me. And then, but sometimes I'll be like, oh, I feel like I worked more this week. But then I also, like, the weeks that I normally am working more are the weeks when I had like personal projects that I set up for myself. And so I try to separate the projects that I'm paid for from the stuff that I do for myself, because they feel like the same thing, right? Like my personal projects feel like my job because it is my job. Like photography is my job. So I'm trying, what I've like looking towards this year is like trying to like, okay, like if I have like a personal shoot, I'm going to consider that my hobby, you know? And like, I don't consider that as like work time. I consider that as like hobby time instead of whatever. And even if I benefit from it, you know, in my job, it was something for me that was exciting. And like, cause my job is my hobby, right? Like I do it because I love it. I love art in general. So like, I don't know. That's the best way that I can like wrap around it in my head is like, because it sucks a little bit when you're like, oh yeah, it does feel like a job now. And like, I have lost a little bit of passion for it.
But I like what you're saying. Oh no, just creating for yourself. I just feel like when you take money out of the equation, it does change things. As much as you wish that it wouldn't, it just removes this pressure intrinsically, I think that, but not to say that you can't create magic and get paid for things, just that creating for yourself is really important. I agree with you.
Right. And I used to just say, oh, I want to create for myself, but I would still consider it work because I'm like, oh, well, when I create for myself though, that's also going to push me forward in this like maybe new thing that I'm going to do business wise or whatever, or like people are going to see it and it's going to be some of my best work and that's going to bring me more business. And even though those things are true, I'm trying to just not make sure that I'm like, no, I'm not doing this because it's going to be good advertisement for me. It's going to be, you know, good branding for me. I'm literally just doing this as my hobby and I'm taking an extra day to work, but it's not work this week. That day I'm working is just an off day that I'm investing in my hobby.
Yeah.
And it's like it's just like this mindset that I have to convince myself to have.
Well, on the other end of the spectrum, this is an interesting question because photography was never my hobby before it was my job. I started shooting weddings when I was in college for photojournalism, and I didn't know what my job was going to look like, but someone just asked me to shoot their wedding because I was studying Photo J, and I knew how to use a camera, and I was like, okay, I'll do that. So it's interesting because I'm passionate about my work, but it doesn't feel like a hobby to me, and it's never felt like a hobby to me. It's always felt like my job. I always said that like I would be just as happy like having another kind of job that allows me to serve people in the same way. Like for me, it was more like service oriented, and then like my skills caught up to it. So like, you know, I always wanted a job that allowed me to like serve people, interact with them, make them feel good. I was a wedding makeup artist before I was a photographer. So I was always creative, loved being in people's faces and, you know, schmoozing them and making them feel good. But for me, this job started as like, I can make people feel good. I can acquire skills to allow me to have a very successful business. And so for me, it's been more service and skill based than passion based. My passion is more about serving people. So I actually don't find a lot of fulfillment for shooting for myself. To me, it's just like another thing. Like, I'm like, I don't want another shooting day this week. Like I want to be working. Like for me, the passion is working with people. So I don't feel this way about photography. And then sometimes that makes me sad because I'm more prone to burnout, I feel. Because there's a bit of the passion piece that isn't there for me. And it doesn't mean I'm not obsessed with my job, but it's like, it was never my hobby. Like I was never the one to like bring a camera places before I was doing this as a job. I
like that though. And I think that's really fascinating to see the different perspectives and know that there's gotta be lots of other people in unique situations that they're doing it for different reasons and none of them are wrong reasons. They're just how you approach things. Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah, like I've always had creative leanings. I've always, you know, I'm very good at drawing. Like I was like always drawing growing up, and I understand composition, and there's like a lot, you know, creatively it does fulfill me, but I don't get fulfilled by personal shoots. And I've learned that. Like to me, it's just like interesting. It's just like another thing on my to-do list. Like I'm like, God, like
again, I have to
again. Like I don't want to shoot again.
See, for me, I'm like, oh, those are the shoots I walk away like recharged. Like, okay, now this is why I do this. I can bring that into my other shoots. Like I feel like I need that to like, so that's really cool.
I'm curious to see as I start transitioning into a year, because maybe it could be like, so I've been full-time. I've been doing this for 10 years and I've been shooting a lot. Like I shoot 30 to 50 weddings a year every year.
How?
And so, I mean, so I think I'm always kind of operating at like borderline burnout. So maybe if I could get myself to a place where I had the self-control to not book that much and I was shooting less, like maybe I would have the energy and want to shoot outside of it. But I haven't for most of my career.
I really feel like that might be it, to be honest, because no, seriously, because
we're figuring this thing out together.
When you're burned out, you just don't you're not thinking of ideas. You're not thinking about, because you're like, I can't think of anything right now. I'm like, literally, I'm grinding. I'm just doing what I have to do to get it done. And you just aren't in a space to do anything else. Yeah. So I feel like a break could be good because but I feel like you're doing great. I'm like, I just am like 50 weddings a year. How do you even
I know it's
intense.
That? How do
you edit that?
We have help, you know.
Oh, yeah,
okay. when you shoot that much, you have help.
Yeah.
There's no other way. But yeah, I'm, you know, this year I have 35, and that's like that's the lowest year I've had since I was 20, I think. You know, it's like the most moderate year I've had. So to me, it's like, ooh, it'll be a nice break. But then going forward, I would like to maybe be doing 20 and then like see if I have like the energy outside of it to do other things.
And if you don't, it's cool. I mean, that literally might just be a different mindset, which I think is great. Like I mean, I love what you said about people and how serving people and really connecting with them is first and foremost the most important thing to you. And I feel like that is so important. And I'm not saying that's something that I am bad at. I feel like I love people and I really care that people feel seen and heard. I also really care about art and making sure it's different. I feel like I hate when things, so I'm like, I don't know if that's a bad thing. Maybe that means I'm not made for the wedding photography industry. Maybe I should be in fashion. I don't know. That's what I feel like I don't say guilty sometimes, but I would be lying to you if I said I didn't care about aesthetics of things. I do. So is it wrong to care about that and be a wedding photographer?
Oh my God, isn't that such a fascinating question?
Yeah. Such a great question.
Sometimes I get so in my head of like, man, I feel guilty for like how obsessed with the aesthetics of this. And like how creatively fulfilling that is because people have always been my driving factors.
Yeah.
And that has caused me to just say yes to everything. Because I'm like, well, if people are my, you know, my primary motivator behind this, like I can't turn anyone down. And then when I'm operating at a burnout place, I'm not really serving people the way I want. So that's not best either. So this is fascinating.
It's fascinating. It's also kind of a taboo topic because I feel like generally what you would hear people say is we love people. Every single person, and not that we say this, we believe it. Every single person, no matter who you are, how aesthetic you are, how beautiful you are, where you live, whatever, deserves to have beautiful photos taken of their wedding day, capturing them for who they are, true to their story. And I do believe that. So I want to like set the record straight that is not what I'm fighting here.
Sure.
Totally.
I think what I'm trying to like navigate is if you identify that there's things that just don't, like maybe you're just not thriving in certain situations for some reason. Is it okay to like, for example, this is such a weird random thing, but pine trees. Love walking around in trees, hate shooting them. I've recognized that I know that's like the most like specific game. It's so stupid, but like every time.
Dude, I left the Pacific Northwest for a reason. Like I was very bored being a photographer
I really, and I like being around trees, but I recognize that like I hate all my work that's in trees. Like I don't know if it's the color green or if it's how busy it is or like I know this sounds so stupid, but I like I love clean, minimal things, I think, and clean composition. I love lots of negative space in my work. And I felt like suffocated and I was feeling like really struggling to get good photos. And so now I kind of turn down things if they're in pine trees.
On this note though, this is hilarious because this is like, you know, for a long time when I started, particularly, everyone was talking about being the adventurous photographer.
Yes, I shifted here too.
I felt like I needed to say that too. Like, oh, I'm adventurous. Do you want to know the truth? I'm super not. Like, I never want to go on a hike for an engagement shoot again. I left the Pacific Northwest for a reason. I am not going to fucking take my backpack up hours. I like to hike. Not for my job, not with people I don't know really well, and I'm making small talk the whole time, and that's very draining to me. My idea of an adventure is like a long drive to the shoot, okay? And so like as I've evolved, I've like learned to be okay with that. That like, man, I'm not the adventurous elopement photographer. I just like, you know, I'm not ever going to hike again for a shoot. I just won't. That walk to Black's Beach, I had just had to do it last night, like up and down the stairs. That is like my max hike. Okay. And at least that is down to a beach and it's mostly stairs.
Yeah.
But oh my God. Anyways, I just related to that so much because I was like, yeah, as I've gotten older, I have gotten comfier being like, I don't want to do that. And there's a better photographer for them who will like,
there are people that love trees.
There are people who love trees, Cara. Yes,
I'm not one
of love trees.
Well, and that kind of answers your question a little bit too, is that like, you know, we care so much that everyone gets exactly what they're looking for. And we aren't capable of always delivering that for every type of person or every type of situation.
Yep.
And it's hard for other people. Sometimes I feel like it's harder for our potential clients to get that into their minds because they're not in our industry and they aren't artists necessarily. And they don't know how artist brains work, but artist brains
are up and down and constantly just like in it or not in it at all. And like, we're just so emotional.
No, and like one day you hate everything you've ever done.
Place.
Yeah, totally.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you change your preset and you do this and you do that. And it's just like an emotional roller coaster for us, but it's also our job. And so when we get to that healthy place that I feel like you're in, where you're like, okay, like if I want to sustain this, which I do love what I'm doing, but I need to make it sustainable, but I have to create some boundaries for myself. And it's harder to explain that to other people than it is to like explain it like to each other as artists. Right. So I'm like, how do you communicate that with potential clients?
It's fascinating when it's your business, you know, when it's your business and you're like committed to things all year and you have to show up, but like, how do you let that be true? Because we need to provide for ourselves and this is a true business, while also like honoring the ups and downs. It's just really interesting.
It's so interesting. Yeah. And I don't know what the answer is. Like I said, it really does feel taboo, and I hope nobody comes at me after listening to that. Cause I'm just like,
no way.
Yeah.
But if something drains you, don't do it.
Ahead.
Right. Like, shouldn't you identify what drains you? And if you find eventually like, all right, well, if everything's draining me, then maybe I'm in the wrong career, but I don't feel that way. I've just found there's very specific situations though, where I'm like, okay, I don't think I want to do that again. That doesn't mean that I didn't give 100% when I was there. It's not like, oh, there's a tree here. Done. Like, I'm not gonna
is there like a tree? Cara won't go. You heard it here first.
You heard it.
Like, you heard it here first. So, if there's a tree, she's not showing up.
Not even gonna go. Yeah.
Not gonna go.
Did you say pine? I'm sorry.
Pine tree specifically.
I'm gonna stop you right there.
Yeah.
Excuse you?
I'm dying. Oh my gosh, that's so
when
good.
You ask her to do a shoot, you have to send her a map of the area with every pine tree at, so she knows.
Even one, I'm out. It's not
within a 10-mile radius.
So what does excite you? You say, okay, you love art, clean, minimal. Like what would you say like your dream aesthetic is?
Well, sorry, somebody's ringing my doorbell right now.
Oh, that's so lovely. That sound.
That was such a classic doorbell sound, but like in a more heavenly sense.
Yeah. Whoa, in a heavenly way.
Yeah, I think so. What does inspire me? I would say, gosh, a lot of things. I honestly, first and foremost though, it really does come to, do I connect with this person? And I feel like I connect with a lot of different people, but you kind of get a sense right off the bat
for sure
if there's somebody that you feel like you're gonna just be on the same page about. And I feel like when the couples that I'm working with equally crave that connection, that is when magic happens. I feel like my favorite shoots, they've been equally as interested in getting to know me and making sure that I know them. And we like talk a lot and we like want that. But where I have other brides where I could text them all the time and they might just ghost me and then they want me to just show up, you know? And I feel like maybe I'm just needy, but I feel like I really need that relationship to really be able to, I want to know you. I want to know if you're feeling off. I want to know when to have like the foresight to say, as the photographer, I can tell that you really don't want to take any more like solo portraits right now before your wedding. Why don't you just go vibe in there with your groomsmen for a minute and to have a drink and calm down? Like, I'm not going to force it, you know? And like photos are great, but like, they're also about the people. And I feel like that's so important. What else inspires me? I love working with other creative people. I love working with people that are artists or graphic designers or kind of stylistically minded themselves, that are quirky and they think about things in a different way. Like they don't want the typical wedding because they're thinking about what's different and what's true to them. I feel like that's exciting. I do really love architecture, clean lines. I love the color blue. I love really minimal landscapes. So places like the desert are my favorite because they're just so open and vast and just, I love that. I feel so inspired by that.
Cool.
It's a couple things, but yeah.
I love that. What are you looking forward to?
Ooh,
like what do you have like on the horizon?
Gosh, some exciting things. I think I'm going to a couple countries this year I haven't been to, so that'll be cool. Going to the south of France for an elopement and Italy for the first time. Haven't been there for a small wedding, and I think Spain and Greece and Iceland and a few other places that I'm really excited about.
Are these like vacations or like paid work?
Paid work, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. So I feel like the things I do have on my schedule this year, I'm genuinely can say I'm excited for every single thing that I'm doing, which is great.
Amazing.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a sentence I've never been able to say. Like how cool to like go into a year and be like, I'm genuinely excited about everything I have on my calendar. That's incredible.
Thank you. Hopefully it stays that way. Yeah. Sorry, my cat's right here.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's good for you.
That's amazing. Any other projects or like anything outside of weddings and travel?
Yeah, doing some workshop stuff. So I'm currently trying to book out Iceland. That's the big one in July. It's kind of like a hybrid of a workshop and a content series. So there's 12 shoots. We have one of my favorite photographers attending who's going to be styling as well.
Amazing.
I don't know, are you guys familiar with Cold Laundry? That brand, incredible. So Ogale Alex is like their creative director and photographer, and he's going to be there. And I've been able to FaceTime him a few times, and he is such a cool, humble, really great guy. Like,
cool.
Yeah. So I'm really stoked for that in particular.
Cool.
Amazing. Yeah. Amazing. What is that content series going to look like? Are you going to try to, because I know we've all been to workshops, right? So like, how do you make yours just a little bit different?
I think my main thing, because this is a hybrid, it's a little interesting anyway, but my main thing with education is that, and no hate to any other workshop, because I feel like every workshop brings something unique and also the sense of community. But I was just trying to think of like, what kind of classes do I wish that I could take that aren't being offered other places? Not because they're bad other places, but so I think for me, like I told you earlier when we were discussing like wearing different hats, that's my approach to life. So I want to learn from the painter about composition, and I want to learn from the stylist about details, and I want to learn from a film expert on composition, things like that. So those are the types of classes we'll be having.
Oh my God, cool.
Yeah. So cool.
Whoa.
So definitely like an art-centered type workshop.
Yeah, just a bunch of people even outside of the wedding industry, but getting their perspective and seeing how can we apply that to what we do.
Dude, that's so valuable. That's so cool.
Thanks.
Cool. Good for you. Amazing.
Anything else?
That's the big things. Presets are in the process. I'm not going to promise when, because I always lie. So eventually, I have a new website that's launching very soon. I started it in January of 2020. So it has been a friggin' long time coming. It has been so long. So hopefully, soon, but it's almost done. So that's big.
So exciting.
Yay. Yeah. Wow. Oh my gosh. Cool. Well, it was so awesome having you, Cara. This is I feel like this is going to be a really good episode for people who just need to be inspired again.
Yes.
A great start to the beginning of the year.
I was just thinking this was like a great intro to the year. Just think about some new things, and I love that.
And different perspectives. Yeah. You seem like a very confident speaker. Do you teach at your workshops too?
I do, but I feel like I'm such an ambiverted person because I can be really social, but I also after this I won't talk to anyone for 2 hours.
Okay, so this is
okay, got that in.
Exactly what I'm like. Everyone's like, you're the most extroverted person I've ever met or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, because I give it all when I'm on, but then when it's over, after we record, I've never been more exhausted in my whole life than after we record podcasts.
My gosh, you're so right.
I don't speak the rest of the day.
That is such a great point.
Yeah. And I feel like you've seen it. Sometimes we're done and I'm just
we're okay, next.
I have nothing to say now, leave. It's just whoo. So I completely understand that.
You get it. Gabe, are you totally just extroverted though, right? Do you thrive off of social energy? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm again, we're all very similar, and I get adrenaline from other people and parties. But I could go for days, I could go to a 4-day party and be on the entire time.
I can see that. Yeah.
But when I'm at home, every morning, you can ask my wife, I probably don't say a word for 2 hours because I'm just okay, this is my recharge time. I'm on till we go to sleep, and then I wake up and I'm nope. Still not there yet. Mm-hmm. And then a couple hours later, I'll be okay, good. Which is honestly, it's a blessing that I can work from home and just wake up, get on the computer and just sit there and relax for a little bit and still get work done, not interact. And then I'm boom. But you know what also comes with our job is a lot of driving. So I think that people forget that I am alone in the car a lot, a lot. We drive to Palm Springs, we drive to Santa Barbara for hours, and I just sit there and I listen to podcasts or do nothing.
Yeah, no, those drives to and from weddings, essential. Essential,
so essential. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and then sometimes I'm in the car and I'm oh, man, am I going to be able to get motivated to do this? And then I get there and I'm
yeah. I like the word you use, adrenaline. I too get a fuck ton of adrenaline from being around people. So it seems like I'm so crazy. And then I'm whoa, I almost felt like I was on drugs or something.
People are are you on cocaine?
The amount of times I've been asked if I have Coke.
Yeah.
And I'm like, never done
like,
that.
Where's your Coke? Do you have extra?
I'm like, no,
I don't even know what it looks like. No, I'm just kidding.
Where do you get that? I don't know. Apparently everyone's doing it. Anyways, this was so fun. Thank you so much. I can't wait to like follow all the shoots you're doing this year.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Can't wait to keep up with all of your incredible things.
Having me here. Thanks for being patient with my headphone debacle and all the things. So
there's always a headphone debacle. We've learned.
Yeah, you also, I think you did such a good job. I just didn't feel nervous, which is new.
Yay!
So thank you. I really appreciate that. You did great.
I love that.
Yeah, you have a great way of putting people at ease. So I appreciate that on my end. Future speakers, shout out to them. They did great. Don't be nervous.
So nice because we did nothing to prepare you. So
I know.
No, I think that was
really
great.
Bad.
No, I prefer it because I've had others where they've sent me the list before, and I feel like it took away anything organic about it because I already
intimidating.
was in my head about how am I going to answer that question. So
really.
Love that. Well, we love Cara Mia.
We love you.
And we know you love her too.
Yes.
I would say we hope you do, but we know you do. So thank you again for tuning in.
Yes, that was so fun. We're like from following you on social media. You're such a mystery. Like we were talking about this before. Like we're like, what does she look like? What does she sound like? I was like scrolling through your feed. I was like, I can't find one photo of her.
I need to work on that.
Mystery. So this was so fun.
I know. And this is going to be so fun for people to listen to.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's what Cara Mia
Are you mysterious on purpose?
I know we're wrapping up. A lot of it just comes down to like a big part of why I got into photography was depression. And so I think it's just like that was like an outlet for me that helped me feel better. And I think it's just like, it's kind of a weird confidence thing, which I know sounds so stupid, but it's just like, I think I'm just coming into myself, trying to figure out where my place is and things. And like, I think I'm gaining that. I need to be better though, because most of the time my clients are like, what do you look like? Nobody knows. So I got to work on it. I'm working on it. That's my goal for this year. But
and I'll say too that like the people that I know that know you well have only said the most incredible things about you. And so like, even though I went into this, like literally not knowing you at all, I told Cami, I was like, I think we've sent a few voice messages to each other. That's it. Yeah. That's the best sense I've got of it. But I knew going into this that you would just be awesome because I know what people say about you too. So
thank you.
You heard it here first, people. Cara Mia.
Yeah.
She's
also,
awesome,
when you start seeing pictures of her surfacing, you'll be like, "You're so hot." And I'm looking at her right now, and she's so beautiful. So,
Cami, you can come live here if you want. Like, you need this energy all the time.
Yes, I would love to. Well, anyways, thank you so much. You're amazing. I can't wait for everyone to hear this. I know. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Okay,
it's over.
See you.
Goodbye.
See ya.
It's over now.
Bye.